The DP-12 double barrel pump shotgun. Let's check it out. Today we're taking a look at the DP-12. It is a double barrel pump shotgun. It has a capacity of 14 rounds of shotgun shells plus 2 in the chamber. When I first heard about the DP-12, I really kind of thought this is a gimmick. I mean, does it fire from both barrels at once? I mean, that would be pretty devastating. But this is really an ingenious and first of its kind type design. One of the big things is when you pull the trigger, it fires one round, and then you pull the trigger for the second round, and then you pump, and then you have 2 more available rounds very fast. It's almost like a double barrel semi-automatic, but the 2-round capacity, but it is 7 times every time you pull that trigger. It's really very well made, and one thing about Standard Manufacturing is they are in Connecticut, and they produce a lot of really cool firearms. Including 1911s and single action 45s, old Colt style, but also a number of other guns. And it's great to see an American company, you know, that's a little bit obscure, but really coming up to the forefront, especially with something that's so unique as the DP-12. And guys, I'll tell you, I took it out of the range and I thought, man, this thing's gonna beat me to death. But the recoil system in this, and actually the heft of the shotgun, it makes it a lot of fun at the range, but for a self-defense option, this will give you a lot of capacity. Hey, how many freaking shots are in here? Dude, this is freaking cool.
I was pretty impressed just watching you shoot it just then.
This is freaking cool. I've always thought, double barrel, whatever the crap. Come here, let me see. And we really appreciate Standard Manufacturing for sending the DP-12 for this review. Guys, it was a lot of fun. The DP-12 is definitely an unorthodox looking shotgun. I mean, it just has some really different lines to it. Looks like something out of Halo. But we're seeing more and more bullpup designs which really change the whole feature of a lot of firearms. Again, it's a 12 gauge, it shoots 2 3/4 or 3 inch. It has 18 and 7/8 inch barrels, there are 2 of them. But it has a lot of molded polymer all through it, but then this rear receiver is aluminum. And again, 14 plus 2. So you have 16 round capacity in this shotgun. And it's made in the USA, in New Britain, Connecticut. Now this being a bullpup design means the receiver comes all the way back. And down here is where you load your rounds or where the shells are ejected. This allows this to be really short. Now we have one of your typical shotguns. This is a CZ612. It has the 18 1/4 inch barrel. And this is your standard pump shotgun. It's really based on the Remington 870 design. Now this one will hold 5 rounds. You can get extension tubes to get it out to the end of the barrel to hold about 7 rounds. But that's what you have in the tube. So you've got, let's say, 7 rounds versus 14 rounds. I mean, that's a pretty big difference. But one of the big things you'll notice is the length. And this is about 39.5 inches overall, while this is about 28 3/4 inches overall. So you've got about a 10-inch difference between the two. And that's because of the bullpup design where all the action comes back here. So the barrels come back as well. So you don't have this stock system. And so that's one of the big appeals of your bullpup. But typically the bullpups are a little bit more like a bulldog. I mean, they're just squat and they're just a little bit more clunky. And so there is a different manual of arms when it comes to bullpup firearms. And typically the trigger is not quite as good because the trigger's here and the linkages are all the way in toward the back. And so that does cause a little bit of issues sometimes with bullpups. The other thing is this is a lot lighter than your DP-12. The DP-12 will run about 10.5 pounds. Your CZ612 weighs about 5.5 pounds. It's a really light shotgun. But really in this configuration, we were running 5 rounds, which were running 14 rounds in the DP-12. Now a shotgun that I'm really a big fan of is the IWI TS-12. And this is a semi-automatic. It has rotating tubes. It has 1 barrel, but it'll still hold 15. So you've got 1 extra round with the semi-automatic. And of course you can put in that extra round, but you can put in 2 extra rounds with the DP-12. So that gives us 16, and then we have 16. But one thing about the TS-12 is it is a lighter shotgun. There's a lot more polymer going on, and because of the extra barrels and the extra tubes of the DP-12, it's just going to be a little bit heavier. And to be honest, they run about the same price. To me, the TS-12 is definitely a different type shotgun, but I love it. The one thing is you're having to rotate these tubes, and you got to remember hitting this little lever once you fire 5 rounds, and then you take the tube and turn it. But overall, this is a really great shotgun. But with either one of these shotguns, you really need to train with them if you're going to depend on them for self-defense, because they are more complicated than the standard pump shotgun. Now there's also the KSG by Keltec, and I don't have one to show, but that's also another option in this line of shotguns. We're going to be shooting some different type shells through the DP-12. We're starting out with some shooting dynamics target loads, and these are from Fiocchi. And then we're going to be shooting some Buckshot, and this is 2 3/4 inch. And this is the extra nickel-plated Buckshot, and then also the Exacta Arrow slugs. And we really appreciate Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo. They are really big on shotgun shells. They have a huge line of different types. All right, you just drop the shells 2 at a time. They go in really easy. Great thing is this holds 14 rounds, which is pretty impressive. Real easy to load. And we're shooting birdshot this time, or target loads. I believe that's it. We're just going to try it. That's it. So it only goes about 1/3 of the way in when it's fully loaded. You can see the shells in these little ports, so you know that it's loaded. That's a pretty cool feature. And it's on the other side. Now, taking out a double barrel pump shotgun, it takes a little bit to kind of figure things out. And one of the things I wanted to do was pull the trigger and pump, because I'm so used to doing that. But it won't let you do that. You've got to fire both rounds out of the chamber, and it doesn't take long to kind of get in the rhythm. I'm telling you, man, this thing, when you rack that slide and you have those 2 rounds that you can fire really quickly, it makes it a great self-defense option. And then again, just pump it again and you have 2 more rounds available. And to me, that is a big plus. I love semi-automatic shotguns. I love pump shotguns because of their reliability. But this really kind of makes it the best of both worlds. Those rounds popping out of the bottom, it kind of keeps them out of the way. It doesn't kind of sling them around. It just drops them straight down. And then again, super easy to reload. Right here at this loading gate at the bottom, I found that was really nice. I mean, I really enjoyed the way this thing just opens up and you're able just to slip those rounds in. It's very positive. The controls, again, you've got to get used to this, but just taking it out to the range one day, it didn't take long to kind of start feeling how the controls work. But it is heavy. But that also helps with the recoil. Now this butt pad or recoil pad at the back, because it has those spring systems in it, it really makes shooting very soft. In fact, when we pulled out the Buckshot, we'd been shooting field loads or target loads. The recoil was surprisingly light with Buckshot. All right, this time we're going to go with Buckshot just to kind of get a feel for how it functions and what kind of recoil we're going to get. honestly, this is not any different than the field loads or the Birdshot. That's crazy. I mean, that does not feel like Buckshot. Let's go ahead and do 2 more. Wow. Man, I like that. I like it. You like that, Robbie?
I like it.
I like it.
I like it.
We like it. Tell me.
Dude, there's no difference whatsoever. It's as soft shooting with the Buckshot as it was with the Birdshot.
That is the craziest thing.
Yeah.
I was ready for it to really give me a wallop.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
No.
The muzzle hardly rose at all.
This thing just continues to impress me.
Yeah.
It really continues to impress me every time I shoot it.
We've shot a lot of shotguns.
Yes, we have.
Something about the way this mechanism works and the weight of the firearm, it just makes it really soft shooting. Now, a lot of the weight's toward the back, so it doesn't feel top heavy, and I like that. But overall, unexpectedly, we had a great time at the range. I was really just wanting to check it out because it's so unique. But honestly, I was surprised at how practical it is. Okay, we're at 10 yards. We're gonna go with 2 rounds of Birdshot, 2 rounds of Buckshot, and then 2 rounds of slugs. Okay, now there's wadding, as you can see, those big, huge, jagged holes. Peppering is your target loads, and it pretty much covered the top half. Buckshot here, slug here, slug there. Now that's at 10 yards. So really, I was aiming toward the top third of the target, and you can see everything was right in there.
All right, so we moved back to 20 yards. Again, we got 2 rounds of Birdshot, 2 rounds of Buckshot, 2 rounds of slugs, all from Fiocchi. We're gonna light this target up at 20 yards and see what happens. All right, you can see we got a nice dispersion of shot with our Birdshot, our Buckshot, and our slugs. Slugs are really nice and accurate out of that gun. We'll just kind of aim for the upper third and whacked it a couple of times. But overall, really nice.
Now we're going to check to make sure the gun's unloaded, and this is the area where you actually load your rounds. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But right here you can see the plugs, so this part is empty. Then we're going to rack the slide just to make sure that the chamber's empty. Now with the slide in the forward position, we're going to drop in some dummy rounds, and these are actually marked dummy. So we're going to drop 2 in, just push them in, and then we're going to drop 2 more in. This actually loads fairly quickly. Now we're going to rack the slide. You can see them coming back, and they go into the chamber. Now it's ready to fire. And then you pull one trigger, it fires 1 barrel. You can see the firing pin is now disengaged. There we go. So both of them have been shot. Then rack the slide, 2 rounds come out, and the 2 rounds come out of the tube, and then right into the action. And it is really smooth. And then of course you shoot 2 more, and then you can continue to do that until you run out of ammunition. Now to unload the rounds out of the tube, there's a little lever right here, and you just press it up and it brings them right out. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other side as well. And now you can take these out without any trouble. Guys, here is your barrels. And then here are your tubes down here. I mean, this is a very wicked looking shotgun from the front. And these both have what they call spreader choke tubes. And they are devastating at about 25 yards. These are true choke thread patterns. And you can even get door breachers to put on here through the chokes. And of course, those are separately. Now the first round fires from the right barrel, and then the second round from the left barrel. And so when you're setting up a sight or a red dot on this gun, you may need to compensate between the two. If it's sighted in for the right barrel, you're going to have to make sure that you pull over to the right when you're firing the left barrel. And that way you're getting on target, especially when you're shooting slugs. And I think that would be the main issue with the 2 barrels. But they're really close together, and it's just like a regular side-by-side shotgun. This thing looks like an alien.
Take me to your leader.
All right, being a bullpup, I'm really curious to see the trigger action. So we have a little bit of take up, and it hits a definite wall. It's a little heavy, but it's definitely a crisp break, which is a little bit surprising. Check reset right there. Because of the 2 trigger pulls, we can get reset without having to rack the slide. We'll check the trigger pull weight with our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 7 pounds, 7.4 ounces. That's not really surprising. 7 pounds, 14.7 ounces. I have gotten it right at the 7-pound mark. A little heavy, but one of the things about a trigger is that if it's crisp, that really makes it still a good trigger. And two, when you pull that trigger, you got to mean to. But not a bad trigger weight. So guys, you really have a high capacity with this shotgun. Now you have a monolithic Picatinny rail that goes all along the top, and it's 13 3/4 inches. The Picatinny rail is mounted forward for your optic, but there is a small little groove that goes down right here at the top of the receiver, and it really allows you to line your sights up. You don't have to have a sight on this. We didn't put a red dot on it. It would have probably been better if we had, but it was fine. We were getting shots easily on target. You have M-LOK slots here at the front, and you even have some here at the back, but these aren't really usable. And we have a front pistol grip, and of course this can be changed out. This is a Picatinny rail underneath. And it does allow for you to be able to grab just the front of this grip and just to be able to pull this forearm back to load. We didn't try that, and we probably should have, just to see how it works. But you could even get a shorter little side grip to go on here, just to make this a little more minimal. But this is a really nice grip to be able to hold on to this shotgun. Now the action is locked right here. I mean, you can't pull that back, and that's typical for pump shotguns, unless you pull the trigger. And then you have to pull it twice. But it also has this feature right here that unlocks the action of the forearm. And so if I depress that, I can pull this back as well, without having to pull the trigger. Now the receiver is 7075 T6 aluminum. This is a covering, it's a polymer covering over the housing that's the lower receiver, which is metal underneath. Also right in this whole area has a metal housing, and then polymer encases it. The grip is pretty straight down. There is a rubber molded piece at the back just for comfort. We have a sling mount at the front, and then here at the back of the stock we have a sling mount, and this does swivel. Now the recoil pad in the back is rubberized, it's pretty thick. And there are dual spring shock absorbers underneath for a recoil system. So it just adds to keeping the felt recoil off your shoulder. And guys, this is very effective. It seems like the higher the velocity rounds, the more this thing works. You have your safety right here, very AR-15 like, and it's ambidextrous. Now one thing about the safety, once the gun's been loaded and you have 2 in the chamber, you can go ahead and pop that safety down and it's safe. And you know, it's going to lock the trigger. If you put it on fire and you fire 1 round, now you can't engage the safety and you still have a live round in the chamber. So you need to be aware of that, just because you don't want to fire that round accidentally. But there is a way to clear out those rounds out of the tube without firing that last round. Guys, if you have that one last round in there and the safety won't engage and you want to clear it, once you clear the tube with those little levers, just pull back on the action and the round will come right out. Now the retail price on the DP-12 is $1,495. I've seen them around the $1,200 range, give or take. And so that's where your market price is going to come in. Yes, it's much more expensive than your standard pump or a lot of your standard semi-automatic shotguns. But this was designed as a tactical shotgun from the ground up. Most of your semi-automatics and your pumps were actually retrofitted to be more tactical, but yet they serve the U.S. military and law enforcement agencies all over the world. But this really gives you a lot more firepower with that 14 round capacity, and the 2 barrels make this really fast to shoot. And that's one thing, you can get 2 rounds off really quick, and then again you've got 14 rounds plus 2 right there in reserve. But overall, there is a lot of quality that goes behind this shotgun. I mean, I've been very impressed. In fact, Connecticut Shotgun Company, who is the parent company, makes really high-end shotguns and has for a number of years. So it's no doubt that they've come out with some very innovative designs here that can be very effective. The one thing, though, that I would stress is you need to make sure that you take this out and you really get used to it. One of the biggest issues for me while we were shooting it was making sure I fired both rounds. Pulling that trigger twice before I tried to pump the shotgun. Once we got used to the way the action was, it wasn't a problem. But if you're going to use it for home defense or self-defense, you definitely need to make sure that you remember to pull both triggers. So guys, if you're looking for a really good quality shotgun that's really unique but very effective and, to be honest, very practical. I mean, this is a great home defense, self-defense firearm. And 12 gauge has definitely been proven over the years and really purported to be one of the best home defense firearms that you can have. It's just devastating. And of course, one thing that I love about this is that it's not finicky with ammo. Whatever you put in it, you're going to fire. It's going to fire. Whether it's buckshot slugs, field loads, turkey loads, whatever. And I like that because it's going to make it really reliable. And the quality overall is really well done. And two, guys, there's a lot of shotguns coming in from Turkey. And yeah, the prices are pretty reasonable. This is made right here in the USA, and to be honest with you, with all the different Turkish shotguns I've shot, and I like a number of them, this trumps them all. And we really appreciate Standard Manufacturing for sending the DP-12 for this review. Guys, it was a lot of fun. Now, we really appreciate Sportsman's Guide for being one of our sponsors. And they give a $20 off every $100 or more purchase using Sootch, no 00. And they have all kind of outdoor related, camping, hiking, you name it, they've got it. But one thing that I use them probably the most for is their military surplus from around the world. And if you join their buyers club, you get a better price and you get free shipping on most items. So check out Sportsman's Guide, it's a great resource. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America, long live the Republic. But all right, we're going with Mr. Sully. There's a slug. There's a slug. Okay, let's do that again. Let's do that again. Got him running. And again, we really appreciate Standard. What is a standard? Standard. Good gosh. I was like, wow, you are way off here.
They're just stretching the kinks out.
That's all right, I understand.
They're trying to stretch the old man out.
Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. This is crazy. I love this thing. What's up? What's up with my shotgun? What I love is when I'm sitting here with this shotgun and a car pulls down into the cul-de-sac. Especially those really quiet cars. They get a shock.